From the years 1945 to 1950, a total of 5 disappearances occurred in the Bennington Triangle. All of these people not only went missing from the same area, but they went missing during the same time of year.
So the Bennington Triangle is an area in the far southwestern corner of Vermont in which a series of mysterious disappearances took place in the mid-20th century. The so-called Bennington Triangle is named after the town of Bennington, Vermont. Naturally, the Bennington Triangle mystery is baked in local folklore and legend, and it's believed that there is some sort of supernatural or paranormal force that caused the string of disappearances. The triangle lies in the Green Mountain National Forest. Glastonbury Mountain is considered to be the center. The 3 points of the triangle are generally considered to be the area around Bennington, Glastonbury, and Somerset. Bennington is home to Bennington College, and the town has a population of around 15,000 people. Glastonbury and Somerset were once thriving mountain towns long ago, but by 1934, the two towns only had 3 residents. They were both disincorporated and became ghost towns. But the Bennington Triangle is most famous, of course, for the disappearances of the mid-20th century, but there has been reported strange incidents over the years, dating all the way back to 1761. That year, New Hampshire Governor Benning Wentworth went to the area and reportedly saw weird flashing lights and heard screams coming from the trees and shadowy figures in the woods. People have reported experiencing these strange things even today. Many people say the area is home to Bigfoot, of course, and a high level of UFO activity.
So if that's true, then clearly there is something paranormal going on in this area. So obviously one of the main, most logical theories is people just got lost, right? You go into dense forest, weather patterns change constantly, especially at higher elevations. So is it possible that these people just got lost in the woods, weather maybe got them turned around or something, or had them stranded on the trail because of the weather, and they just succumbed to the elements eventually?
I feel like I could see that if of like one person, but over and over again, it seems very odd.
I agree.
That there's a handful of them, the same thing happened. Oh, the weather got bad and I got disoriented. And
it's the numbers that trip me up for sure.
And most of these people were experienced hikers, which is important to note. So, experienced hikers, that's a very
broad term,
right? Like, what does that even mean? Most experienced hikers know you stay on the trail. You don't go off the trail because it's very easy to get lost. Some people believe that some of these hikers may have fallen into abandoned mine shafts or wells in the area. And given how isolated it is, it's possible if you were to fall into one of these wells or mine shafts that you would just never be found.
I think with that theory, again, it would make sense for maybe 1 or 2 people, but for all of them, how can that be the explanation?
And that leads us to the local legend of the Bennington monster. And this is an actual thing in local folklore, is that there is a supernatural creature known as the Bennington monster, and it's very large. It's a hairy beast, very similar to Bigfoot that's roaming these woods.
Bigfoot's cousin.
Yeah, or a Bigfoot. One story claims that the Bennington monster was spotted in the area sometime in the early 1800s. A stagecoach full of passengers was traveling when they had to pull over due to a sudden downpour. The rain washed out the road and everyone had to wait for it to ease up. But while they waited, the driver noticed that there was these massive footprints in the mud. As he turned to ask a passenger what he thought about them, the others noticed a terrifying creature. The creature was big and hairy and had no footwear. It pushed the stagecoach over before running off into the woods. So if that story's true, then I don't know what other possibilities there is than Bigfoot to push over a stagecoach. Like, that's either a really, really big bear, which I don't think bear would take the time to push over a whole stagecoach, maybe, or it was Bigfoot.
I don't know.
Then there's the local legend of the WILDMAN. So some believe that the disappearances are the work of this WILDMAN or a WILDMAN McDowell. On April 4th, 1892, a sawmill worker in Glastonbury using the name Henry McDowell got into a dispute with a man named John Crawley. It's not known what sparked the argument, but something John said enraged Henry. In fact, it made him so mad that he picked up a rock and used it to bludgeon John to death. Henry ran, but he was quickly apprehended by police in Norwalk, Connecticut. From there, he was sent to Waterbury State Hospital, an insane asylum, but Henry was able to charm the staff into letting him out in the yard. So when they did that, he escaped by hiding in a coal cart and took off, and he was never seen again. Legend had it that he fled the asylum to live in the mountains and he became a hairy, deranged wild man. There were rumors that Henry would sometimes travel down from the woods into the towns of Bennington and Glastonbury to expose himself to unsuspecting women passing by. Of course, many historians do not think the wild man was responsible for the disappearances. The wild man committed his murder in 1892, and again, the first disappearance happened in 1945, so that's 53 years later.
Yeah.
And he would have been very, very, very old wild man at that point in time.
That don't add up.
Likely dead. But many people believe that he's potentially responsible for the disappearance. Sometimes it seems like the legend combines, both this Bennington monster and this wild man into one creature, perhaps. Then there's also something known as a man-eating stone. Locals have said that Glastonbury Mountain is cursed. According to the legend of the Native American Abenaki tribe of Vermont, Glastonbury Mountain is the place where the four winds meet. They believe the mountain is unsafe because of the high winds and strange noises that come from its woods. But according to legend, there was a man-eating stone in the mountains, and when someone would step on it, the stone would open up and swallow the person whole. I think the stone is possible.
Do you?
Sure. I tend to believe a lot of the Native Americans' stories and their accounts of history because they've been here a long time. They've seen some stuff.
Maybe. I've just never heard of a man-eating stone before this.
It's not like a stone that like opens its jaws and it's got like teeth like biting down on them. It's just like they vanish into the stone.
No, I know.
Maybe it's like a portal or something that it's walking over.
That, in my mind, the most likely explanation for all of this is that this is a vortex of some sort.
And people are disappearing into another dimension or something. The animal attacks thing is obviously one of the most logical explanations for this. But again, cougar attacks is possible, but like we mentioned earlier, pretty much extinct in this area since late 1880s. And black bears, they definitely attack people, but people don't usually die as a result of a black bear attack.
You would just find something. You'd find some trace.
Yeah.
Black bears are the least aggressive bear there are. We have them all over Colorado.
Yeah.
You never hear of someone getting attacked by a bear here.
That's so true. Yeah, I don't think it was a black bear.
How many deaths to black bears have been?
Less than one a year. Like very, very minimal.
Yeah, I really believe in the vortex theory. Negative energy vortex, I think, makes the most sense to me.
I think the man-eating stone could also be like kind of a more figurative way of talking about the mountain itself, or like the peak.
Yeah, that's a good
point. Think of the
point.
mountain as a stone.
Yeah, that's
and
a
in
good
a
point.
sense,
The mountain
the
swallows
energy
you up.
kind of, it swallows you up. You get disoriented and it kind of,
Sucks you in.
eats you, I guess, swallows you up. Yeah.
Yeah, I do believe that these vortexes exist. And I think it could explain a lot of disappearances out there.
There's definitely something going on with the energy in this area. I mean, the fact that people feel disoriented and people have even reported when they check their GPS, it reads their coordinates are miles away from where they actually are.
Yeah, that's the trippiest part.
So it's like, is there some sort of like electromagnetic anomaly that is creating an increase? Which I kind of looked into that a little bit, and there's actually a map that the U.S. Geological Society or organization, they did a whole electromagnetic like survey of the entire country, and I like pinpointed this area, and there wasn't really, like in the Bennington area, it wasn't like there was a massive increase in electromagnetic, like measured electromagnetic energy in this area. It was actually like pretty normal. So I was like, I mean, one of the things that is very rampant in this area is UFO sightings. I mean, this happens quite a bit. If you look at it, there's actually an article. You can take this for what it is, but the Green Mountain State, so Vermont, placed second in a recent Stacker.com list of the most sightings per capita in the country. And these rankings derive from the National UFO Reporting Center. Quite a bit of UFO activity up there. So is it possible that either the UFOs are actually physically abducting these individuals, or because there's so much UFO activity there, from what we understand about UFOs is they have this anti-gravity propulsion system. And so when UFOs are around, whatever they are, whether it's some type of craft or an orb, a lot of UFOs are just orbs of energy or light, that what's happening is that because they're around, they're distorting the time-space continuum, so to speak. Like they're actually distorting the dimension, the dimensions that we're in. And so it's possible
That's an interesting thought.
Slip into perhaps a parallel universe, dimension, whatever you want to call it, in this area because there's just so much UFO activity there.
So what do you lean towards the most?
I lean towards either the vortex is disorienting people to the point where they're just completely getting lost because things look different. They're not realizing that they're going a different way than they think they are, and they just get lost and end up dying. That to me is like kind of a good cross between, going completely into the paranormal of like, yeah, they disappeared as a result of a UFO abducting them, or they entered a different dimension to never be seen again. I think it's more, there's some sort of anomaly going on here that's causing people to get disoriented. And what that is, we're not quite sure.